yeah. Here I go now. Here I go into new days. Hey, hey, yeah. Here I go now. Here I go into new days.
Give her a little bit of extra space. She's not a bad jungler. Either good solo roamer to set up ganks. So I'm not too surprised to see the CM here. And like you said, I think it leaves things open for Startale.
Well, Weaver's going to be the pick up here by MVP, so they're grabbing him nice and early on. And I'm sorry, man, I'm still on that whole boat where I'm not a huge fan of Weavers. I haven't been really properly converted just yet. But maybe MVP can make him work. I'm a big fan of a Weaver when you have him coupled up with somebody else in a dual lane. That for me works. So running a Visage as well as a Weaver, it's actually a really good combination. Get a Grave Chill out, get a Weaver Shukuchi through the other side, Crystal Maiden, have a bit of a Soul Assumption. You can murder with that dual lane. The only issue is always for Weavers, when do you get your Lincolns up? I think it was during the Invitational. Actually, was it the Invitational or was it last night's matchup? Yeah, I think it was last night's matchup where I saw a 30-minute Lincoln Sphere.
5 seconds remaining.
Was that Bleak on?
Was it? Yeah, it was. It was the Invitational.
He went Midas first, and then it took him 30 minutes to farm his Lincoln Sphere.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous like that. And actually, what do you actually even think about this whole everybody gets Hand of Midas these days?
It's weird. I mean, I think it really works for LGD Int, and I think, you know, the first time that we saw them go the mass Midas strat, there was a really good reason for it. And, you know, some teams have been experimenting with more Midas, less Midas. So the thing is, when you've got 3 Midas on one side of the map and 3 Midas on the other side, it's sort of just like everybody's playing an EM game. You know, it's just more experience and more gold, but nobody is really trading any advantage. So I don't know. I'm still not 100% sold. I've seen it work. I've seen it fail dismally, but it takes a little bit more execution to punish. I mean, it's a way to be greedy without having to be greedy in the draft.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I think the perfect word is execution, as you just said. Like, if you want a Hand of Midas strat to work, you've at least got to have a goal. Like, just getting a Hand of Midas for the sake of having a Hand of Midas is pointless. If you're getting it because you're going to get certain levels and you're trying to rush to a certain point, that was one of those things where I was always really happy about it with MVP, that you got, like, the Shadow Shaman and Leshrac strat. It was, we know we want to push, we know we're going to take towers, and we know we're going to try and do this. This was the goal that was coming out from them. And it's kind of the same thing, even with the Hand of Midas. It might be a little bit more of a passive style item, but it's going to get you to a point where you're saying, I'm going to have this much gold by this point, I'm going to have this many levels by this point, it's either going to give me this ability or it's going to give me this item, and this is going to work in this way to help me win the game. Because it is an objective-based game. It's my phrase I try and always hit home when people watch in. Look for your objective. What is the objective of the team? What's the Hand of Midas going to do for you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Midas is that it's a way to kind of shift the onus a little bit. If you've got 2 Midas and they have none, then even if you're both just sitting on your side of the river farming up, then you have a minor farm advantage that, you know, isn't there otherwise. But I definitely think there's space to still punish the Midas strats. And when we see supports picking it up at 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm sometimes not the biggest fan, but should probably not rant on Midas too much, just because I feel it's been talked to death at this point.
Okay, let's leave it out there and just talk about what we're getting out from both these teams. So Team Startale, now we can start looking into seeing what our lanes are really going to do. So we get a DK, we get a Bounty, we get a CM, we get a Rubik. So you got 2 heroes who can be very aggressive and controlling through the Crystal Maiden as well as the Rubik. When you start getting those high levels up on Rubik as well, like you hit level 3 in both Sim as well as Rubik, they dish out a hell of a lot of damage. And then you're going to combine that in a rotation to help out a DK, who also is a man that is a very tanky solo mid, but also has burst damage of his own through that Breathe Fire. It's very easy to get CS after a while with that. And then you got Bounty Hunter, a guy that wants to rotate and make the most out of a killing style lineup. So I'm liking the composition the Team Startale have got. They can really do anything they want to with their lanes, be it Bounty CM together, be it Rubik DK together, and we're still missing one last hero. If you really want to go all out for this, you can even run I kind of almost want to say a Prophet on the safe lane for them, and then run the dual lane mid, run the dual lane top, and try and control MVP up. Because MVP, they've got combination heroes Like,
Radiant team
they've kind of got like a killing star lineup, but it's a 4 protect 1 strat.
Yeah, the thing for Startale, and especially I guess just Korean Dota in general, is we see very little split pushing. We see very little manipulation of like, I'm going to go push, so I force a TP, and then I TP back, and we take a fight 4v5. It seems to, by and large, I think it's become a little bit better, as we've moved further into the sponsorship league. But for the most part, it just tends to be one team is ahead at 10 minutes, they go 5-man push towers, force fights, and the game kind of steadily moves in one direction the whole way through. So I think the big thing for MVP is whether or not they can start to get that split push going. It's not the best lineup even to have picked a Weaver into here. I mean, when they picked the Weaver, there was already a Bounty Hunter and a Crystal Maiden on the table. So you're already dealing with Track, you're already dealing with Frostbite. And the thing about a Lincoln Sphere, it'll help you a little bit through the mid game. But once Bounty Hunter gets level 16, that's a 5-second cooldown on Track. He just doesn't care about the Lincoln Sphere at all. So it'll be interesting to see if MVP might be a little bit more nuanced in the way that they play this. Maybe give up their tier 1s early just to try and get some core items up on the Weaver and then start getting some split push going, because Startale don't really have the best ways to deal with that.
See, I wouldn't want to give up any tier 1 towers up against a DK. Especially with the bounty, then the freedom for Startale to roam across the map against MVP if they lose their tier 1s is just too much of a risk. I'd almost want to see MVP run a full aggressive try here, put Mirana, SD, Visage down that bottom lane, grab him another middle lane hero, and then put Weaver up on that top lane solo. So give him some easy experience. Up against a bounty hunter in the early levels, Weaver should be able to win out in that. Might have to give him an extra sentry ward early on just so he knows where the bounty hunter is, so he doesn't get hit by that Janata all the time. Yeah, and just focus on that. Focus on the Weaver having solo time, solo farm, solo experience, and try and pull, if there is any kind of support for that bounty hunter on the top lane, pull it to the bottom lane. Make him deal with that aggressive tri lane from MVP, try and roll with the punches, force the fights, and get a mid-hero like a Queen of Pain that can rotate down nicely and give you some help. Try and find those snipe offs, control up the bottom lane, force the mids to rotate down to stop that bottom lane going out of control.
reserve time.
It's a gamble because if it doesn't work, SD and Visage are really crippled, but if it does work, you take the game.
Yeah, and this is why this last pickup for Startale is really important, because if they have somebody that they can leave behind 3v1 on that bottom lane, they can roam their Crystal Maiden and the Rubik, and they, instead of fighting the tri-lane directly, like, if it is going to be an aggressive tri-lane from MVP, they can fight it indirectly by going off and ganking the Weaver and whoever is more than likely going to be mid here for MVP. So these last two picks are really crucial. The Morphling kind of leave behind 3v1, not the best. But Startale, if they really suspect that an aggressive trial is going to happen, they could just run the Bounty Hunter safe, 3v1, roam their supports, and then have the Morphling sort of up on the offlane.
Yeah, that's an option.
Reserve
Let's see how MVP go for their last one. I also want to make this take this time out too, guys. Let people know. I know I haven't really been using the Join Dota live stream much of late. In fact, I think I'm at this point firing up once every week. just for this competition. So please get out on your Facebooks and your Twitters and let people know that we are live with this matchup. Tell your friends, tell your neighbor's dog, if he has a computer, to tune in and watch the broadcast, because I do hope you enjoy the matches, and also me catching with Basket. Why would you ever want to miss that? You shouldn't miss that. You shouldn't miss that. But it's game time now, Basket. Invoker, last pick up here by MVP. I'm so down with this. Exort, please, Invoker. And then they can use the Sunstrike, and that's going to give them their advantage on the bottom lane, running an aggressive trial lane without having to pull the Invoker from the mid. Unlike Team Startale, well, they'll have to pull the DK from the mid.
Yeah, I mean, Invoker's an interesting pickup. I love seeing him. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he's played this game, especially if it's going to be. It's looking like Hunji, and I think he's played a fantastic Storm Spirit. A couple of times, I think both yesterday in the Invitational and also here in the Sponsorship League. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can do on the Invoker, but not the strongest laner. And again, I think the problem for MVP might end up being that they're going to get dragged around the map a lot by these roaming supports from Startale. So we're going to end up, well, we'll see what laning matchups we end up with, but it could get interesting.
We've got a smoke movement coming out here from MVP. It's It's not something you normally see this early on unless you are quickly rushing out of the base, but there didn't seem to be a huge hurry coming out from them. And in fact, they've actually missed... Oh, no, they haven't. Forev just, for some reason, has fallen back a long, long way here. But they're going to be pushing down towards the bottom, searching out for Startale, but Startale are nowhere near him. Startale are long, long gone.
Yeah, MVP actually did this yesterday, but they were on the Radiant side, so they smoked out. They ran all the way past the Radiant Ancients, ran up onto this hill, and they were just hoping to find somebody at level 1, you know, just doing something a little bit out of the ordinary to try and get that first blood advantage to start things off. So, I mean, it costs them 100 gold, of course, and it costs them a smoke, but it's interesting to see the MVP are just experimenting a little bit with the way that they're starting off these games and seeing if they can maybe just get a cheeky advantage to start.
It's the early cheese. The early cheese. Actually, was it them that tried it? Yeah, they tried it the other day. I think it was the invitational matches where each game had its different level of cheese that was attempted. Anyway.
Push cheese and then level 1 cheese and
yeah, that's what it was about. We hate to use like StarCraft 2 terms for it, but considering we're casting Korean Dota, I think it's rather appropriate. It seems I got my wish. Aggressive trial lane does assemble for MVP, so it's the lanes to be expected out from both these teams. With the defensive trial lane on the bottom, it's the reason why Morphling was also picked up, Mr. Escape Mechanism. So even if MVP try to initiate on the Morphling, they're going to have a hard time killing him off. They've got to initiate on the Rubik or the Crystal Maiden. That's the two areas they have to look at right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that the Startale supports are going to start down right
There's your
here.
disruption. Oh. They're going to go on the Crystal Maiden. Arrow timing for Forev was way too early, which means Telekinesis pick up on SD. You're going to drag him back with the Morphling waveform up. It keeps him in range. The Soul Assumption damage out from Mafia. Morphling, he's already munching on a Tango, and they have to back themselves up. Forev ends up still way too close here. Mafia also very, very low on life. And this is what I was talking about, man. The aggressive trialing can bite you in the ass if you screw it up.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised that this trial is actually going to end up, you know, working out for Startale, just fighting it head on. I really thought that they were going to have to, you know, grab level 2 on their supports, roam away, put some pressure on the Invoker, put some pressure on the Weaver, and just get the MVP supports to leave that way. But looks like just fighting it head on is going to be fine for them. And yeah, that first blood is really significant here, especially when, I mean, Mafia didn't turn up to lane with too much regen. He's just got 1 Tango left. That's it. So this is looking very tenuous for MVP.
We're going to go again. This time Forev's going to wait a little bit longer. Arrow will connect, and this is the way it was meant to go beforehand. But the problem now is Morphling has his level 2, which means he could tank up just long enough they can get a revenge kill over on the Visage. But I suppose they didn't really have that much mana as well as Strength Mob. But if that was meant to happen from the first level, if that happened at the first level with no problems right now, MVP will be walking all over this lane, as opposed to having a 1v1 trade, which just happened then.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a huge deal, but the Mirana, you know, you pick up a kill, you pick up your Bassi, all of a sudden you've got a little bit of extra mana to work with, so yeah, every second and, you know, every point of life counts in these trialing versus trialing
situations. We're going again, but disruption pick up. Arrow hasn't flown off. In fact, it has now from Forev, and it's used on the Morphling to stop him from waveforming up, but he still gets himself in range for the last right click. Leap down, Soul Assumption damage. It's probably a very good thing Mafia got that one at level 1. Now he's got to pick up the Rubik. So again, we see a 1v1 trade. But this is, yeah, this lane's not going to settle down. And I want to check out the other lanes too, because we haven't even talked about our top lane.
Yeah, not at all. And Bounty Hunter's already running pretty low on regen up here. I think he's playing it the right way, just trying to grab whatever CS he can and not get harassed too much. And once he grabs level 6, he could make his way down towards this bottom lane to try and be annoying, which is the one thing that they do have going for them with the Bounty Hunter, as opposed to the Weaver or the Invoker.
Also want to notice this middle lane with Hunji's build with this Invoker. Like now he hits level 4, but he's got 2 points up in the Quas and 1 point up in the Exort. So he's not helping out his teammates with Sunstrikes. He's just trying to win his lane. We're going to Frostbite in the bottom lane. SD, oh, I thought he was going to turn around on that one. Telekinesis pick up on Mafia. They don't really have enough follow-up damage. Once the Frostbite's used, Telekinesis doesn't really mean that much. But you do have that second level for Rubik and Fadebolt. So he's got good options on that front. But yeah, this Invoker is not helping the bottom lane like I thought he would. He's getting Forge Spirit, focusing on the Cold Snap on the DK, and surviving through the burst damage of the Breathe Fire, which is up at level 3 now.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that he's gone so heavily into Quas here. Because like you said, I think if he goes Exhort, then he can if he goes Exhort, he can set up on the disruption. You know, they can blow up one of the supports before they even use anything. That's been part of the problem
this is
for
really
MVP
good for
on this bottom
MP.
lane.
This is really, really good for MP. They need a stun or a stopper. And now the Dragon Tail, he's in range. He backed off. He was close enough to Forev, even if they did bait out the SD disruption then. Morphling moving up to a level 2 waveform, and you got 2 points Frostbite, 1 point up on the Nova. Ruby could have committed himself in as well. They could have easily walked away with that kill, but now MP wastes a little bit of time. Haste Rune means it's not as much time, but still it's a little bit more of a wasted time.
Yeah, not the best from MP, unfortunately. He's doing pretty well in his own lane, but the Dragon Knight... The nice thing about having the Invoker here is he's not really too interested in leaving the lane either. So the one advantage that you normally have with the Dragon Knight is that, you know, if he's up against the ganking mid, he just bottle crows through and, you know, spams his way out. And then as soon as the ganking mid leaves the lane, he just puts pressure on the tier 1 tower. You know, maybe he takes it, maybe he doesn't, but he at least forces people back to the lane. But Invoker's not interested in leaving at all. MP taking some big damage.
Yeah, watching that top lane. How are you supposed to pronounce it? Jayu?
I'm not sure. I just call him JYU.
JYU is good. I'm down with that, man. I'll stick with your way. But he's got this track up on Banhua right now, so Banhua can't move quite freely up on that top lane anymore. Chikuchi harassment's one thing, but someone talking about we had to have like sentry sound so you wouldn't get hit by this Janata. But I suppose this Ring of Health is kind of stopping most of the damage coming out from it anyway. Banhua just keeps on refreshing the track so he can see the Weaver. But I'm still fine with this if I'm an MVP fan, because we got Banhua, who's got 32 for 7. He's got level 6. His experience is good. Banhua's got very few denies on this top lane. This is a win for MVP because they're getting farm up on a Weaver. Now they're going to actually TP forward, the 4th hero to the bottom lane. Bounty Hunter, he leaves that lane. They want track kills here. Sentry Ward's too far off to the left there for MVP, so he's going to start up on the SD. Track has to go. They need that high movement speed to follow up. Waveform up with a Shuri toss as well. Able to get the bonus damage over the Morphling. Then a Rubik telekinesis follow up into Mafia. Soul Assumption damage is all he can really do. And Mafia, he's going to tick out already. There was no way to really survive that from the start. And Sunstrike, that just hits on 3 heroes. I think it was searching for the Morphling. But that's a level 2 Sunstrike. Not enough. Forever leaps away, but gets knocked down by the Crystal Maiden Nova. And that's another track kill going with 3 bonus heroes around the Bounty Hunter. Great play by Startale. They're looking really good.
Yeah, that was really big. And it's obvious that the Bounty Hunter is eventually going to leave the lane. The Weaver is winning in terms of CS. The Bounty isn't getting too much. He's not interested in sitting there and losing a farming war. And I'm really surprised because the obvious move is to just go down towards bottom. They had some sentry set up, but I think it was just to try and de-ward. I don't think they were ready for that. And yeah, they get 3-0'd, 3 track kills, 4 heroes. Very, very straightforward for Startale. And that's what was looking like not so great for them. I mean, they were pretty much losing in all 3 lanes. Is now very deftly turned around.
I actually kind of thought coming into this game that MVP should be the one having the advantage. With their recent matchup up against both Speed as well as Dignitas. Like it was one of the big things. I remember I was chatting to Nexon when they were first considering the Invitational. And the main reason behind it was to give the Korean teams exposure and education to the European teams. I thought MVP was starting to learn from this kind of stuff. And you have someone like a Bounty Hunter on the field. As he said, like it was a logical thing to do. You're not winning a farming war, move him down to the bottom lane, and then try and push out. Startale, they made the right call. MVP, it's one of those things which in time with experience you'll start to predict. And looks like middle lane, there's not much fun happening for the Invoker dying behind the tier 1 tower. And that's another track kill going the way of Startale.
Yeah, and this is where the lanes start to break down, and this is where things really start to open up for Startale. And this is what MVP needs to be really careful of. They don't really have the advantage in these early to mid-game fights. They're still looking to get a lot of farm up on their core heroes, and yeah, I think all they can do is make sure that they don't give away too many track kills in this mid-game.
I think the hilarious thing is, out of all of this, you've still got a winning lane on the top that completely outstrips the bottom lane. So 58 for 11 up against a 23 for 9. Now 59-11 up on the Weaver. He's almost got triple the CS. The arrow, that's a 5-second stun over on the CM with a Fade Bolt. Sun strikes all some damage. They need to get another right click in there. Morphling waveforms down. Will pick up Forever, committed in to pick up just a Crystal Maiden. And Marvi's going to have to back himself up. But there's Fade Bolt off cooldown in 1 second time. Boom, and, well, Rubik right click. Funny thing is, KSH decided to start farming before he got the last hit out on that hero. Either way, 9-3 now. Startale, they lose the CM, but they get a lot back for it.
Yeah, and MVP just, well, I guess it's just the Mirana down here so far, but I really think their supports need to go and maybe try and get something off on the Dragon Knight, something like that, because right now they're just really being picked to pieces by Startale and all these little skirmishes, and you know things were looking really good, but all of a sudden Experience and Gold are rocking up in favor of Startale.
Yeah, and that gold's going to change a hell of a lot more shortly. Like the gold's going to dip back down again because the top tower was just denied. But you've got rotations up towards that top lane, and with every single kill the Bounty has been involved in, he's getting closer and closer to that level 11. And that's when the gold spikes, because then you get a level 2 track. Shikuchi was just used, which means now they're going to get a guaranteed track up. DK's moved up towards this top lane. He needs Dragon Form to get himself in range, and he knows it too. Oh, he started the attack! They needed the Dragon Tail stun. Even then, I don't think they may not have had enough follow-up, but to catch him out inside the Shikuchi and take away his movement speed, bonus like that, oh, I could have, yeah. Small time. I think attack move worked against him. Now SD is trying to do the bottom lane, but not going to work. CP comes down from Rubik.
Yeah, and MP almost immediately killed Hunji on mid lane. I think he could have just popped stick charges and finished him with a Breathe Fire. It looks like it might just happen here.
Yeah, runs in. There's your Ice Wall. So, well, MP, he's got high movement speed because he's still walking around with a haste rune. So that Ice Wall wasn't going to stop him. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, we've got Visage down for Rev, looking for a pickup on the Crystal Maiden now to pick it off as well. But you still got that track movement speed into the Shadow Walk, and that is going to be an easy chase down for JYU. First hit, one shot is not enough for a Shuritos. Takes an arrow. It's only a 1 second stun. And we've got Weaver now also down this bottom lane. Morvlin's going to try and cut across and waveform down. And maybe JYU with a full creep wave behind him attack. There we go. Ghost Walk bonus damage plus the Janata hit out. Finally picks up the Mirana. And Weaver gets tracked up for all his work. He will, however, time-lapse off that track. But 13-5 now in favor of Startale.
Yeah, things are looking really good for Startale, and Invokers ended up going back for a Midas here. So we've got an Invoker that we're going to be waiting for a while. The Weaver doesn't want to be roaming around the map and ganking. It looks like he's just going to settle down in this bottom lane to try and put some pressure on the tier 1. But MVP need to try and stabilize this.
We got Forev, Arrow flies, going to miss absolutely everybody. The Cold Snap not making it easy for DK to get away, but he's got one charge up his sleeve. Now CM drops down the ultimate, killing Visage on the outer skirts of that. They do lose the Rubik, however. But SD being tracked up, Dragon Tail stun, Breathe Fire in 1 second time. May use it, does use it. Ensures the kill for MP. Ensures more money coming in. The mid tower also being denied, but that means Hunji's out too far. Track, 4-point Shuri toss. Because he's into the quad, so he's able to tank this up. And the Cold Snap making it very difficult for Bounty Hunter to keep chasing. But they definitely know Invoker's forced back off this lane. The only time when you could say having those 4 points up in quad was a good thing.
Yeah, the 4 points in Quas did quite a bit for him there. So he does have the 4-4 now. He can participate a little bit more with double Forge Spirits and Snap. But again, the Invoker just isn't too interested in roaming around the map and ganking. So, and Forevs looks like he's going back for a Hand of Midas as well. So we're going to have double Midas and a Weaver. This is a really big opportunity for Startale just to get some smoke ganks going and just try and hammer down these tier 1 towers as quickly as they can. It'll work out for MVP if they can just stall, but for now, execution is absolutely vital because they're going to have gold, but it's all going to be locked up in these Midases.
Mm-hmm. All right. I still wait for a tier 1 tower to go down apart from just that one up on the top and obviously our one in middle. Both of which being denied.
Oh, Weaver, seriously?
I get. Why? It doesn't even make any sense at this point. Like, a Hand of Midas very early on is good. Like, you can get it around the 8 to 9 minute mark and you're looking really, really good. But the second you're like 13 minutes into this game, it's just a little bit too late. Especially for someone in Weaver's position. Like, Weaver has already got a crap ton of farm up on the top lane. And the whole, like, Artosis way of looking at this, where it's like, once you're ahead, get further ahead, it doesn't really work in this scenario because you're already ahead and you need to have the abilities to fight while you're ahead. A Weaver buying up a Hand of Mice delays his time before he's able to pick up both the Lincolns and then the Desolator after that. Even then, you probably want to get a Mana Style up and running, maybe even sooner, because then you're able to shred off the track, as opposed to just always using it with a Lincoln Sphere. It's, yeah, not a fan. I'm not a fan.
And MVP aren't in the right position at all here. They've got 4 behind the tower, but somebody needs to be split pressuring mid. Banhua's not going to threaten anything relevant on top lane, so I think Startale just pretty much take this tower for free.
5 second. That's an opening right then if they wanted to, but they don't. They don't have enough. Falling back, Arrow actually stolen and returned. That's a 5 second up on Marvy, but there's no creep wave to dive underneath the tower with. Shadowblade or not up on a DK. It's just not enough. He gets one little attack in to get that poison off on the tower again. This is safety in numbers from Startale. That's all this really is. Arrow flies again and doesn't hit MVP. This is the game when you wouldn't want to be playing up against a Magnus. They're all holding hands so close together you could basically tie him with a rope.
Yeah, and the question for MVP is what did they accomplish there? I mean, they slowed down the push a little bit, but just the way that everything was positioned, it was guaranteed that Startale were going to take that tower. Maybe if the Weaver had been mid, applying a little bit of pressure, they would have forced Startale into making a decision and TPing somebody back, and that's when the Weaver can TP down towards bot, and maybe you can take a fight. But, I mean, Startale at the moment have the better 5-on-5 team fight. And yeah, I think MVP just missing out on some farm that they could have grabbed there, and they're just playing a little bit afraid right now. Everybody's staying grouped up. But I don't think that's going to take them towards a win here. I think they just need to get some wards up, farm safe if they can, and you take fights for the tier 2s. But I think at this point, the tier 1s are just gone.
I kind of almost wish at this point that they... See, I'm not going to go brutal on MVP for the whole 4-man group up on the bottom, because still at the same time, Banhua was getting experience on top as well as on mid. And this Hand of Mice keeps running, so he keeps getting bigger and bigger. And Weaver's carrying these games at the late game, especially up against heroes like DK and Morphling. I can really see a Weaver being able to do that. And with this 4-man push on the bottom lane, they will take out the tier 1 tower. Familiars to help them out, all the Forge Spirits as well. But they should look at Roshan directly after, because this is becoming a tower trade, or maybe not. 3, 4 TPs come in. The arrows fly, the Familiars drop. They try and slow down the Morphling. He's also getting hit up by the Forge Spirit, so he's losing his armor. He's looking to chase this down. Disruption goes out. Wonderful Sentry Wall from MVP. So they saw the DK coming in the Dragon Tail. But he's still got the high movement speed. Doesn't even attack with the Dragon Tail first hit. With the Shadowblade first hit, he used the Dragon Tail instead. Cleans up the Forge Spirits, and they get rid of the SD. But it's a denied tower up on the top lane, and that tower on the bottom lane stays just outside of denied range.
Yeah, so Startale, interestingly enough, not willing to just take the trade there. They tried to just take an all-in fight, but things still looking all right. The big thing with the Midas strat is it's effectively challenging your opponents and saying, look, we don't think you can break high ground. We don't think you can break our tier 2s before these Midases are going to pay back themselves. So that's, I guess the onus is on Startale. They haven't really gone for too many farming items. Bounty Hunter is just ready to fight. He's got his level 11. He's got drums. He's got phase boots. And yeah, this is now where Startale just careful with their smokes. Don't make it too obvious. Don't go for the 5-man smokes. Still have people pressuring at the lanes. You've got the Morphling who can always have a replicate ready with your team. If a fight breaks out, so they need to be taking advantage of that. Use the Morphling to match the Weaver. Don't let the Weaver get too much split push done. And I think things are looking all right for Startale, though. MVP are finding some openings.
Yeah, agreed. 100% on it. MVP, it's the balls to show it. It's really the balls to show it. And they're coming back down again for this bottom lane push. And Startale, they want this. A 5-man fight, when you've got Track up and running, it's perfect for you. They've already got one. They picked up the Visage. Track's over on this SD. He disrupts himself. But remember, it's bonus gold for everyone that's around him. And with the level 2 Track, oh, wow, really? Really? No, Morphling's going to replicate down to ensure the kill. While MP as well as JYU pushing towards the tier 2 tower. The arrow will fly, will miss everybody. So you got 2 hero kills up against a team with a Hand of Midas, and now with Dragon Form, you can easily take this tier 2 tower in the bottom lane. Easily. When the fight pushed the lane.
Yeah, and they didn't have a tier 1 tower there, so the Weaver couldn't TP in to help them fight, you know, even if they wanted to take a full 5-on-5. And he wasn't really in position to threaten anything either. So Startale just 5-manning is kind of working out for them at the moment because MVP haven't quite been able to get the coordination going between their 4-man group and their Weaver to force Startale into making difficult decisions about whether or not they want to defend a tier 1, you know, or they want to take a fight. And that's just MVP right now. Just going to continue making their way down towards this bottom lane. It's the same 4 heroes here that have been here for the last 9 minutes or so, and you know, it's sort of up to Weaver to do whatever he can in the other lanes. But yeah.
Well, at least Weaver now has his ultimate orb and he's 520 gold towards something more. So that's his real upside right now. The fact that Banhua is getting a hell of a lot. His downside is he's about to die in the middle lane. You got Bounty Hunter as well as DK, the 2 Invis initiations. Even MP, he got really greedy then. He attacked first before stunning. But he still did it. They got the kill. Weaver goes down. He doesn't lose any money for that death. In fact, he stays exactly where he was because he's got 517 reliable gold. But still, it's him on the sideline and not being able to farm for basically a minute. And I'm counting a minute until he gets back out into the lane.
Yeah, so I mean, Startale, nothing's changed. They just need to continue to apply pressure. Don't let MVP sit back on these Midas and just do what they want. They're still holding on to their tier 2s, so they have a little bit of farming space available to themselves right now, but yeah, they can't afford to relinquish too much more, I would say.
I love the fact Morphling gets a Lincoln Sphere before the Weaver. It's just that in itself is... MVP need to change their tune, and they need to change it right now. Holding back, waiting for the Weaver to finish up his Lincoln Sphere, it's not gonna cut anything. It's they need more. They need more push. Yeah. They need more farm. They need to be more active on this map. MVP are the ones that are calling the shots. Forev's already look at Forever Mafia. You got confidence to come in like right now towards the top lane. 4 heroes underneath the tower, but Startale don't really care. They push out the top lane. They're farming up their jungle. CM could do that by herself if she wants to. Mortling's waiting just for the camps to respawn. He'll go back into it. And then you got Rubik. He can just move himself in towards the mid lane, defend the tier 1 tower. CM is solo pushing the bottom lane. And MVP are like, well, we want to do something, but we can't. Because you don't have the items to stand on the lane right now. And the Hand of Midas it isn't the fountain of youth as far as gold goes. It's a small bonus you get every roughly 2 minutes in experience and gold.
Yeah, and Tenbizi's bucking the trend. He had at some point he farmed 1800 gold. What did he buy? Not a Midas. He just bought himself a drum. Helps out the push. They're gonna get a tier 2 tower for free on bottom lane. And Startale easy pick off on the Weaver on top lane with the Shadow Blade and the Dragon Knight.
Sorry, I wasn't even looking for that, Peebles. I was watching the bottom push and checking the monies. One thing too, which we haven't seen touched yet, is Roshan. 4-second arrow over on Tenbezi. But Morphling's right behind him, and Forev is not ready to fight. There's not enough money for drums. He has the Ring of Aquila, which is meant to be a stopgap item while he goes into something bigger. But the Bounty Hunter's building into a BKB shortly. I say shortly, 1,000 gold away. Then the BKB is finished up on the DK. And MVP only have Purge that will go through that BKB. That's it. They got nothing else. Scythe Device for Invoker is still too far away. That's why he's trying to use the Hand of Midas to rush to. Mirana already went down, but there's still track over on Mafia, which means Breed Fire even hitting there on Hunji. The Familiar's trying to get a drop down. Morphling waveforms over. Disruption out from the SD. Only way to save himself. But now Heen comes back out of that one. Lincoln Spear will trigger again on the Morphling as they get rid of these Weaver bugs. Forge Spirits as well. Arrow flies out. Easily evaded because you can see it coming from a mile away. And Morphling, Sunstrike. It just gets split between 2 different heroes right then. Minimal effect. Startale. Maximum reward.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud MVP for sort of going all in on that fight. They realized that they were slowly bleeding out, that if they continued to give away objectives to Startale, eventually they would just get starved out in their base because they don't have the power of the Weaver split push. This is a very unfortunate game for the Weaver. I mean, like we said during the draft, there was already a Crystal Maiden and a Bounty Hunter on the table when it started, and now that the Dragon Knights had such a great game, you know, Shadowblade ganking duo with the Bounty Hunter, it's very easy for him to just keep the Weaver scared, prevent any of his split push, and yeah, Startale from this point forward, very straightforward game plan.
Yep. All they gotta do is just keep going. You've taken all out of towers. Next main objective, reach inside the base. They'll want to have an Aegis more to really do this, however. So that's one thing where they've got to just do some prep warding so they can see if MVP are trying to come to counter them. But they've got all their major items up and running. We got Mech and Force Staff on this little cat courier flying out to them right now. And KSH, well, he's got 3k cold up on this Morphling. May even think about buying up an Eagle Song. I'd like to see him, in fact, go shoddy, just so he can instantly remove that SD from the fight. But they're going to smoke and go inside of Roshan. So in case there's even a ward out from MVP, this is just pure safety first Startale, going through the motions. Sunstride's going to scout out what's going on, but it's kind of already too late for them to get there. Roshan's in half-life, and they won't get there in time to really prep and